Keanu Reeves walks into a struggling bookstore. You won't believe how it all turns around. Marie stood behind her cramped wooden counter, tapping a pencil against a sparse sales ledger. She wondered whether it was even worth staying open another hour when she'd sold only one dusty paperback all day. Suddenly, the door chime jingled. Keanu Reeves walked in, wearing a casual hoodie and scanning the tight aisles as if he'd discovered a secret hideaway. Marie's heart gave a jolt. She recognized him instantly, but couldn't fathom why he'd come. He asked if she was still open. She managed a rattled yes, and he offered a polite nod before stepping deeper into the shop. Marie swallowed, bracing herself. This was the most interesting thing to happen here in ages. A sense of disbelief kept Marie frozen for a moment. Then she cleared her throat and explained that business had slowed to a trickle over the past year. Online retailers ate away her customer base, and rent hikes chipped at her will. Unpaid bills lay scattered on the counter, each stamp screaming past due. Keanu surveyed the shelves jammed with neglected classics and half-forgotten bestsellers. He noticed faded event posters taped unevenly to the walls, remnants of children's reading hours and poetry nights that once drew modest crowds. Marie sighed, recalling how lively the store used to feel before foot traffic vanished. Keanu nodded, picking up a battered hardcover. He mentioned how sad it was when real bookstores faded away, because they held a special charm digital platforms couldn't replicate. Marie appreciated his sympathy, but she also felt a sting of resignation. As if sensing her worry, Keanu asked if she'd ever tried rearranging the space or hosting a fresh event to spark interest. She shrugged. No time, no budget, and no energy left. Truth be told, she was on the brink of giving up completely. Keanu looked around as though assessing hidden potential. He noticed a cluttered corner stuffed with unsold romances, behind which a dusty chalkboard read "Story Hour." 4 p.m. in faint letters. Marie admitted she once held weekly sessions for neighborhood kids, but attendance dwindled until she canceled them. Keanu seemed undeterred by her tales of decline. He gently set the hardcover aside and offered to help move a few shelves around right then. Shocked, Marie stammered that she didn't expect a Hollywood star to rearrange her bookstore. He shrugged off her surprise, saying that sometimes a simple change could reveal new possibilities. With reluctance and a flicker of hope, she agreed. They began sliding a tall, rickety shelf away from the back wall. Dust rose and a startled cat scurried off. Marie coughed, apologizing for the mess, but Keanu just smiled. He asked about the store's previous events, what drew people in, what fell flat. She explained how each idea started strong but fizzled fast. Still, talking about it now stirred a dormant spark in her heart. They spent the next half hour reorganizing. Shelves shifted toward the windows, so a timid shaft of sunlight reached deeper inside. Stacks of neglected novels found slightly better homes. Marie unearthed a battered armchair under a pile of old flyers. Keanu suggested placing it by the front, so passersby might see a cozy reading spot. Even that subtle shift brightened the store, making it look less like a forgotten relic. Marie caught herself smiling, uncertain if it was from the small improvements or the surreal fact that Keanu Reeves was the one hauling shelves. At one point, she paused to catch her breath, noticing how the space felt less suffocating. Keanu asked if she'd ever hosted a grand reintroduction event, something to lure the neighborhood back in. She hesitated. She had no money for promotions and barely enough for rent. He shrugged, saying sometimes word of mouth did the trick. Maybe offer a reading night, a poet or two, a children's session, anything to remind folks this place still had life. She murmured that she'd think about it, feeling a surge of cautious optimism. At 5 minutes, part 1 ended with Keanu glancing at his phone and saying he had to leave soon, but hoped she wouldn't give up just yet. Marie, still breathless, thanked him and watched him slip out the door, wondering if this bizarre evening might change everything. Early the next day, Marie arrived at the bookstore, half expecting the previous night to be a dream, but the tidier aisles and repositioned shelves assured her it was real. She glanced at the cat sprawled near a newly cleared path, as if appreciating the extra space. Her eyes caught on a sign reading Family Reading Corner, and she thought about how she'd once hosted excited kids flipping through picture books. An unexpected flicker of determination surfaced in her. She decided to print some basic flyers, rediscover Marie's books, one night only, and pinned them to local coffee shop bulletin boards. Yes, her budget was nearly gone, but maybe this was her last shot at saving what she loved. That afternoon, a hesitant buzz swirled around the neighborhood. A few people claimed they'd seen Keanu Reeves hauling shelves inside a dusty bookstore. Curiosity lured some fresh faces, each stepping in to verify the rumor. Marie sold a couple of paperbacks, a small victory that felt enormous to her. She told them about the upcoming one-night event, hoping they'd spread the word. A local poet overheard and offered to recite some pieces. A retired teacher who'd spotted the flyer volunteered to do a short kids story time if any parents showed up with little ones. friends. Bit by bit, an unlikely community formed around the promise of one evening's gathering. Whenever Marie found herself fretting about unpaid bills, she remembered Keanu's calm certainty that local word of mouth could spark new interest. The cat, meanwhile, lounged in the repositioned armchair by the window, giving passersby a quaint scene that sometimes drew them inside out of sheer curiosity. The store felt lighter, as if the gloom that once hovered there had lifted, replaced by cautious anticipation. Finally, the evening arrived. Marie propped open the door, letting the mild Los Angeles breeze waft in. She strung a few soft fairy lights along the shelves, arranged a circle of mismatched chairs for the poet's reading, and placed a makeshift sign near the entrance welcoming guests. To her amazement, people trickled in, a mix of old regulars who'd abandoned the shop ages ago, and new faces drawn by the Keanu rumor. Some walked around, admiring the cleaned-up shelves and picking up books to buy. Others settled near the front, sipping coffee from a nearby cafe that donated a small carafe to show support. The poet began, sharing heartfelt verses about neighbors, belonging, and the bittersweet magic of physical books. A hush fell as a handful of listeners leaned in, nodding at each resonant line. Marie stood behind the counter, feeling her eyes sting with tears of relief. Even if the store couldn't fully solve its financial problems in one night, at least it wasn't lonely anymore. She recalled how hopeless she'd felt just days ago. Now there was chatter, laughter, and even a smattering of applause when the poet finished. Midway through the small festivities, the door opened again. Keanu Reeves slipped inside, smiling gently at the scene. A wave of soft excitement rippled through the guests. Marie let out a shaky laugh, crossing over to thank him. He insisted she did all the hard work. He just moved some shelves and spread a rumor or two. Attendees who recognized him snapped discreet photos, but mostly they let him blend in as a quiet observer. The retired teacher took a few kids to the newly uncovered reading corner, spinning tales from picture books while the cat nestled against their feet. Marie watched it all unfold, hardly believing the transformation. In just a few days, the store had morphed from a dying relic into a space alive with conversation and creativity. Sure, she still had rent to cover, and those overdue notices hadn't vanished. But for the first time in ages, she felt like she wasn't fighting alone. As the clock neared 8 minutes, folks began drifting out, some carrying new purchases, others promising to return for more community nights. The poet thanked Marie for letting her share her work. Parents raved about how cozy the children's area was. Even the cat seemed oddly pleased, purring contentedly near the door. Keanu gave Marie one last nod, reminding her to keep going. She wanted to say so much, "Thank you for saving my dream, for reminding me that people still care," but the words caught in her throat. He patted her on the shoulder, then slipped out as quietly as he'd entered. After locking up, Marie gazed at the battered sign reading Marie's books. It still showed its age, but it no longer felt like a tombstone for her ambitions. She exhaled softly, feeling hope settle into her bones. Maybe tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, but tonight proved that an unexpected spark, one kind visitor, could reignite a light she thought had gone out forever. And that wraps up our story. If it moved or inspired you in any way, be sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting tales. Sometimes one small act of kindness can change everything, so go out there, share a little hope, and we'll see you in the next story.